Hey, it's Jason from Gigasheet, and today we're going to talk about how you can use Gigasheet in data preparation and data pipelines. Specifically, we're going to be talking about master data management, or MDM. MDM involves creating like a master record for a thing, a business, or person or place across the enterprise. So it involves deduplication, entity resolution, reconciliation, and even enrichment. And today we're going to be working with data from our partner, Tamer. You can check out Tamer at their website, tamr.com, and learn more about all the cool stuff they do with artificial intelligence and machine learning and fuzzy matching and entity resolution. They also source data from tons of different resources and databases. Lots of cool stuff they do there. So with that, let's dive in and take a look. I've got this file before Tamer, which is data that will preview that's been pulled together from a bunch of different enterprise systems. And then I've got this file after Tamer, where it's been run through the Tamer pipeline. It's been cleansed and enriched with lots of additional firmographic data. You can see here, there are about 2 million records in the first file, and still same number here in the output, but there's way more columns that Tamer's added, and we'll take a look at that data. We've also got this file that'll be a lookup file of golden records or mastered records from Tamer that we can also use to see and analyze really the work that it did. So let's take a look at the before. Really what we've got here, as I mentioned, it's 2,011,875 rows of data. And when we look across this, we can see it looks like data, pretty typical stuff you might see in a CRM or a supply chain management system, like a vendor management system, something like that. And we can see it's been pulled from different systems. This particular data looks like it's come from SAP, Salesforce, and a few other systems, Marketo in this case. We can get a quick idea of number of records and that sort of thing in each one of these, and then the total spend that's coming out of these systems. So pretty cool. A lot of data here. We can also look at company name. When we group this, it looks like the data is relatively straightforward and clean, but one of the things that Tamer specializes in is what I call entity resolution, but really disambiguating things. So what happens is these big companies are buying other smaller companies or have other subsidiaries, and so naturally data gets kind of dirty in enterprise systems. The other thing that happens, especially with CRMs, is you may have human error where one person may put in Leidos Inc. as the account name, and another person may just call it Leidos or Leidos North America. So based on this data, it looks like the most records we have are for this company SAIC, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Leidos, Boeing, and so forth. If we wanted to sort this by how much we spend with each of these, it looks like SAIC, Lockheed, Raytheon, Leidos, Boeing, Harris are the top companies that we're spending money on. Let's take a look at what Tamer can do with this. So if we open the data after Tamer, we'll see way more columns. And actually, if I go back to the complete overview of it, you'll see we have the same data, but we also have some DUNS information from Duns and Bradstreet, where Tamer's added a bunch of enrichments, the country, the company's legal formation, all kinds of stuff related to firmographic information that's much more detailed and richer. So if you're trying to analyze this, it's really helpful. It does a lot of matching. So essentially, and cleanup, as I mentioned before. So it's cleaned up the addresses and done a bunch of resolution on that. And I'll show you how that works and the results. They become really clear when we use this lookup table of these golden records that Tamer creates. So here you can see even more information that's associated with these different company entities that Tamer has identified when running the pipeline and doing their mastery of the data. why don't we just join it together and take a look at how it works. To do that, we'll use our function here on cross-file VLOOKUP, which is like a database join or VLOOKUP across spreadsheets. So I'm going to select the column Tamer ID here, and what I want to do is match on the mastered records from Tamer file, and I'm going to select the Tamer ID in this file. And what I want to do in this case is bring across company name, which is like the golden company name or the Tamer mastered company name. So this would be kind of like the correct parent company name for that would resolve all these things like Lenovo North America or Lenovo Inc., etc. So let's run that lookup, and that'll bring across the data here into this after Tamer sheet. It'll run for a couple seconds, refresh, and we can see that it was added here. So now comes the fun part where we can look at the grouping by the mastered company name, and then dive into some of the data like the spend data and other analytics that we were looking at before and compare the before and after. So if we just look at a row count here, we'll get a better idea where here we can see Lockheed Martin is 1, Leidos, Raytheon, Boeing, L3 Harris, and so forth. And we also can do that sum on spend and do kind of that same analysis that we did before. So if we do sort here, we can see Lockheed is the number 1, Leidos, Raytheon, Boeing. And if we go to the before file and the sort on spend, here we would assume, based on this, that this SAIC or Science Applications International Corporation would be the number 1 vendor here. And when we expand these, you can see why. Because in this case, just doing a match on the company name and this particular spelling, when we go to after Tamer and go to the SAIC, we can see that there are various different companies and subsidiaries listed in here that have been grouped under this golden company name that Tamer brought in. So really cool example of how you can use Tamer to master your data. And you can see here, in some cases, you can even sort this and see how many different variations there are in this particular file. In the case of Northrop Grumman, there are 8 different unique names that are floating around this enterprise referring to Northrop Grumman systems. So really cool example of how you can use Gigasheet together with Tamer to inspect your data before it runs through a pipeline and then after to check out the results. The last thing I wanted to mention today is sharing. Gigasheet makes it easy to take all this data and share it with anyone. You can set sharing permissions on the folder. You could even make it publicly accessible to anyone, or you can invite specific people by email address and securely share it with them. Once you do that, you can use the link here for link sharing. It's really easy to do. You can do this also on the file level here, or even open an individual file and make it available. So what I'm going to do is make this data public and post it along in the details below so you can check it out and play with this data yourself. If you're interested in Gigasheet, you can always create a free account at gigasheet.com. Thanks for watching.